welcome to the first ever episode of Idiot Brewing Company. We are so lucky to have you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I am here with my fellow idiots, Chris and July. My name is TK, and yeah, first episode, guys. How are we feeling?
Feeling good. I'm excited.
So far, so good.
Yeah. So if you guys do not know me, my name is TK. I used to be part of the podcast for Playing with Power, still a member of Playing with Power, but we are here joining a new channel with some of my bestest friends in the whole wide world. And yeah, today we are going to be showing you guys some really awesome brews. But before we get into that, let's just explain who we have here today. Who are the idiots? Take it away, Chris.
Hello, I'm idiot number one. My name is Chris. I've been playing Magic for some odd years, probably starting around 2012. Took a nice little break, got right back into EDH. Did a lot of modern in between, but CEDH, man, it just grabbed me by the reins, and I've just kind of been going ever since. I think I've been playing CEDH really exclusively for probably, I think, about a year right now. It's going on a year.
Nice. Idiot number two, express yourself.
Idiot number two. I didn't even think I was getting a number. Hi, everyone. I'm July. I've been playing Magic for, I want to say about 6 years, especially Commander. I've been playing CEDH particularly for about a year or so following Chris. I personally am a really big fan of Control. I want you to be shivering in your boots every time I'm looking at my cards. And yeah, I mean, I really am excited to see what we've got planned here. I mean, we've kind of got the gauntlet here, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And that leaves me, idiot number three. I've never played CEDH a day in my life, actually. This is going to be my first time ever touching a Magic card. They captured me by my will, against my will, rather, and was like, hey, you're going to do this? And I said, sure. I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player at heart. Let me stop. Yeah, my name's TK. I'm a member of Playing with Power. I've been a member of them for about a year now, and before then, I made contact. So I've been playing Magic on and off since 2012 in a competitive sense, usually with 60 card. I've been playing competitive EDH, though, for the past 3-ish years in a tournament setting. So definitely one of my favorite formats to play. It's my main format that I play now. I love turbo decks. That's my thing. I want to be the villain at the table. I want everybody to look at me and be like, oh, we have to stop them. And then I love to tell them, you can't. No.
Good luck.
Try it.
Hey, they never expect their counterspell.
The third counterspell? Oh, man. You wasn't ready for that daze, rather. But, yeah, that is kind of our archetypes, and that's who we are. So I guess it's a good time to kind of explain what the whole purpose of the channel is and kind of what we're going to be doing today. So every week we are going to be here on the podcast, essentially taking a commander we think is underutilized or just a really fun idea and giving you 3 separate takes, each of us trying out to make a list based off of this commander in the CEDH format. And we're going to look at them together and be like, wow, that's really great. And mash them together, play action figures, just into one amazing deck, hopefully, at the end of it. And it'll either sink or swim. You know, it'll either sink or swim. With an
Ashes found that amazing.
Yeah.
It could be, Spider-Man 2, or it could be The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It all depends on how you look at it.
I can't believe you did my man Andrew like that.
I love Andrew Garfield. Amazing Spider-Man is great.
I hope I'm Tobey Maguire.
Out of the 3 Spider-Man, I definitely would feel like an Andrew Garfield out of this. I'm not going to lie to you. See, I like Andrew. I think he's great.
I think I have to go with Tom Holland just out of process of elimination.
Also, just by age, you're just the youngest out of us. I think it even works in that way too, right?
Little baby Spider-Man. Yeah.
I'm gonna get called Iron Man Jr. so fast on this channel.
For sure. So Yeah, today's commander is going to be the Ancient One. We're going to give you 3 separate takes that we've created for the Ancient One. Go down the list and kind of see what is different between all of them, and then we're gonna, like I said, make them kiss and do the whole thing and make a great list, hopefully, out of them. And then we'll set it off to the wild, and we'll play pods and see how it works on our next episode. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Ready as I'll ever be.
Cool. So, before we get started, I'm just going to give us a quick overview of the Ancient One. What is the card we're talking about today? And the Ancient One is a card from the Lost Caverns of Ixalan set. So not too long ago from this recording. It's a Dimir commander, costing blue and a black 2 CMC. Legendary creature, spirit god. It says descend 8, so the descend mechanic, if you are unaware, pretty much is all about counting how many permanents have either entered your graveyard or are in the graveyard. And this one cares about the permanents that are in your graveyard. So it has descend 8, which means it cares about if you have 8 permanent cards in your graveyard, and it cannot attack or block unless there are 8. So that's its whole thing. Because it's an 8/8 for 2. So glad they put that on that card. Could you imagine?
Oh my gosh, dude! Just an 8/8 for 2 running around that didn't have a stipulation.
Hey, sometimes Wizards just decides to print cards.
Man, I need them to decide not to print some of these. I'm not gonna lie to you. But that's not the most important part of the card. The most important part of the card is it has an activated ability for 2 Dimir. So 4 cost, draw a card, then discard a card. When you discard a card this way, target player mills cards equal to its mana value, it's being the discarded card. So if you discard, let's say for instance, a Kozilek, Butcher of Truth for 10, target player that you choose will mill 10. So that's kind of a lot of the synergy that is surrounding the Ancient One, is sort of this mill strategy. And I guess in design wise, it's to get you to that descend to be able to just hit people in the face for 8. But of course, in CDH, we break things. We're not just going to do that. We're going to do some other weird, nasty things with this commander. So I will go ahead and share my version of the Ancient One. We're going to do Polymorph. Have I ever piloted a Polymorph deck in my life? Because I like Turbo. Why would I do that? However, this gives it a little bit more speed. And it's trying to use the Ancient One's kind of second ability, the activated ability, in order to win the game outright. And how can we do that? It's by making infinite mana and being able to draw and discard our entire deck. The payoff for that is through Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. We can draw our entire deck, cast Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, and then win the game that way. Or we can also mill our opponents out. Now, you're probably wondering, TK, how are you doing that? It's because we are using infinite mana created by Hullbreaker Horror or Tidespout Tyrant, which allow us to be able to cast spells and bounce mana positive rocks to create infinite mana of our colors, and then sync it all into our commander's activated ability to draw and discard, milling our opponents for everything that we discard that has mana value. Of course, that's not just a land. And I decided to add Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, which is an Eldrazi Titan that has the very, very specific ability of when it is put into the graveyard from anywhere, its owner shuffles his or her graveyard into his or her library. So no matter what, as long as Kozilek is alive in our library, we will be able to create infinite mana, sink it into the Ancient One, and then mill everybody out. Which I love that. Yay! You just pass the turn and then they die. Yay! It's so great. So Jace is here as a kind of backup when that Kozilek is no longer around, or if you just decide, okay, I need to get around people's One Ring protection or something like that. This allows us to do that. Our creatures, because it is a polymorph deck, which I should probably explain what polymorph is. Polymorph is a card sorcery, and there's a couple of polymorph effects in the deck, but the main one is polymorph itself. It's a sorcery for 4 that says destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. Then its controller reveals cards from the top of his or her library until you get another creature card. then you just put it on the battlefield. So this allows us to essentially set up really fast by playing all of our huge rocks, our mana rocks, and then immediately cast the Ancient One, which is only for 2, and get rid of it to get to our Hullbreaker or Tidespell Tyrant, and then win the game that way. You're probably also wondering, TK, Kozilek is there, so what if you hit Kozilek? Well, it's a 12/12 that has Annihilator 4. So if it gets on the board, I don't really care. I'm just going to swing it at people and hope they die soon, and that'll work well. Outside of that, we've got some other packages to kind of help play the game. We have reanimation packages in case maybe the polymorph doesn't work or our cards get milled by our own effect or anything else. So Stitch Together is one way we could do this. We are also using Persist. We have Mnemonic Betrayal, which is a sub kind of win con because we're milling our opponents. So if they mill into something like a Thassa's Oracle, which we cannot play because of polymorph, it's really hard to time that, which is why we're on Jace Wilder of Mysteries. We can use Mnemonic Betrayal to just kind of be like, oh, I see you put your Underworld Breach and everything in the yard. Awesome. I'm going to win that way, which is really great. Praetor's Grasp is here to do the exact same thing. We didn't bring our own Thoracle, so we're just going to take yours. Gimme. We have a ton of Entomb effects, Yawgmoth's Will. Training Grounds here to make Ancient One just a nice little 2 draw card, discard a card, as well as Leyline of Anticipation. This is a card that I'm on the fence about, but we're just trying to cast all of our rocks and be able to win at whatever pace we can. And if I can do that in instant speed just by having the Leyline, sick. I'm not really going to be mad about that. Let's see, any other cards of note in this version? Likeness Looter is a card that allows us to copy the abilities of whatever is in our graveyard, as long as we pay the mana cost for its activated ability. So if Hullbreaker Horror or Tidespell Tyrant happen to be in the yard, then we can just go, okay, pay 7 for Likeness Looter, and now it is a copy of Hullbreaker Horror, and then we can just start the loop that way. Riptide Shapeshifter is a shapeshifter that allows us to polymorph into the other cards by naming either Jin or Horror and sacrificing itself. So it's just another way to get there. Proteus Staff, it's another polymorph effect, and I think that is it. Outside of that, we're running 26 lands with some MDFCs, all of the good blue-black things that we would see there, Tutors, Cabal Rituals, Chain of Vapors, all of the counter magic that you would want, a Toxic Deluge in case the board gets really heavy. Yeah, that is my take on the Ancient One. What do you guys think? Tell me what you guys think, guys.
I really do like the Kozilek. Like that's something that you don't see hit the board in CDH. That's not something that should ever see the light of day, in my opinion. If I'm playing CDH and a Kozilek is on the board, something has gone completely wrong. So also it is almost always live, right? Because like the discard ability is stapled onto the Ancient One, so the only way that this is no longer in your deck is if it's exiled off of the field. So there's just very slim chance in margin that it'll ever not be live for you, and the ability to just refuel your graveyard, you're just like, oh dang, I didn't want to lose that. Okay, get it back. Just discard that, get this whole shebang back, and we'll go again. I think that's really cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on the same page, especially like talking about the Kozilek and making sure, like, I think Chris is exactly right here, where it's like it's never dead, because even if you polymorph into it, once you go into your Hullbreaker lines and you start like bouncing your rocks and everything, you've generated your infinite mana, you can just bounce Kozilek again and put it back in your hand to mill it or to discard it. I absolutely adore. I did not know about this card until you were showing me this list. The Likeness Looter, absolutely insane. It just goes to show that like there are a lot of sleeper hits in a lot of the more recent sets, and it's, for at least for me, sometimes hard to keep up with some of the sets. So, but yeah, I mean, I adore Polymorph. It's one of my favorite cards in both casual and competitive. So getting to see Polymorph list is always fun.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Well, that's it for my show and tell. I guess we'll pass it on to idiot number one. There you go.
Hello, idiot number one here. I did a much more different variant going into this. I like my mid-range grind. So what did I do? I did mid-range grind. I did not do your traditional polymorph list, but we are still running the Ticebout Tyrant Hullbreaker Horror loops for infinite mana, which, I mean, as a Kinnan player, this is my bread and butter right here. I know these in and out. I think I literally go to sleep thinking about doing these loops. So there's no way I didn't want to go ahead and put this in. We also did just like a couple just good cards, kind of like a Dothy Voidwalker, Ledger Shredders to just draw cards along the way, and your traditional win cons in the Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation. We're in Dimir, baby. Why not? That is the most succinct win con that you can have in CDH. I'm gonna be playing it. That's just it. It wins games, brother. Like, I don't have to make infinite mana. I can just draw this naturally and just say, "Yep, here, there's that, there's that." Good, 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 good. To back it up, I've got a wonderful counter magic package. All your staples. You got your offers. You got your forces. Everything along those lines. To kind of be safe with our Ticebout Tyrant Hullbreaker Horror loops, we did throw in a reanimation package. Got your True Blue Reanimate. We've got Animate Dead and Necromancy to kind of get those back if they get milled upon activating the Ancient One on somebody's end step. We can go ahead and get those back for relatively cheap while holding up mana for extra counter spells along the way. We're in black, so we've got all the good tutors. This is just making me happy. I just love consistency. It makes me a happy boy. We're in blue. Obviously, we're going to have Mystic Grimoire. We're going to have Ristic Study. Those are givens. A good suite of removal packages. One thing I really like about the Ancient One, with it being so cheap, we are given access to our Fierce Guardianships, our Deadly Rollicks, our Mox Ambers, and they are online a majority of the game. So when you're tapped out, you're not tapped out. It's beautiful. Land-wise, you got your traditional Dimir land package, and my pet card in this is probably this little beauty right here. Got the Emergent Zone. I love winning on top of other people's turns. You know, Board Upon a Wind and Emergent Zone. If I can make it, it'll be in every single deck I play. Literally every deck I play, I promise you. But yeah, mid-range grind fest. We've got our infinite mana outlets as well. When it comes to the Hullbreaker Horror loop bouncing, our secondary win con is we're looking at Orcish Bowmasters with that ETB trigger. So we'll bounce our mana positive rocks. Once we have infinite, we can go ahead and just bounce the Bowmaster as the secondary win con. Tertiary win con, we do have our Lion's Eye Diamond, we do have Brain Freeze, and we do have Praetor's Grasp. Thank you for playing red. I will take your breach now. I appreciate that. Gimme. I'm a player now. So, yeah, your traditional mid-range list. It's looking to kind of control the early game, stop those silly little turbo players, put them in their tracks. No, you don't get to win on two. We're gonna see a game. We have a whole hour and a half. Quit rushing. Yeah, it's a fun little list. I think this has some legs for sure.
Yeah, I love this list. Like I said, I already knew you were gonna do the mid range stuff, and I knew you were gonna do it well. And yeah, I was not disappointed at all. I think we were talking briefly when I told you about the intuition piles. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about the whole thing of, you can do Likeness Looter plus Hullbreaker Horror plus a reanimation spell going into your turn. And it's like, what are you gonna give me? It doesn't matter, but just give me whatever.
Yeah, funny enough, you told me that, and I was like, that's a wonderful idea. So I went ahead through Likeness Looter and threw an intuition. I was like, yeah, that's just too good, man. Like, what do you want?
It's that intuition is a cracked card. I think the scariest card in your list to me is the Scarab God. When you were telling us about that before, I was like, that's insane, brother.
It's-
Good
Chris,
God.
can you go ahead and talk about Scarab God real quick?
Yeah, I can. I did kind of gloss over it there. It's, Scarab God is funny. So it's 5 mana, right? A little pricey. We don't care. It's getting milled over more than likely. And then when I hit these silly little reanimation spells, that thing is coming right onto the battlefield. Anything that's been killed early on in the game, it's mine for 4 mana. Yep, that's 4 mana. 4 mana Dockside. Sure, take that. 4 mana Bowmaster. I'll take that. Another redundancy for milling over one of my big dumb idiots. It's all right. 4 mana Tidespout Tyrant. Here we go. It's a 4/4. Good luck.
Yeah, making it a 4/4 is wild. Like,
Mhm.
cool, I'm gonna steal your bowmasters out of your yard, and you cannot kill my bowmasters because it's big.
He chunky.
He's thick. That's a thick bowmaster. You know?
Also, it's instant speed viable too. So like, don't swing your Timna at me, brother. I'm gonna. You probably wouldn't anyway because I got a 5/5. But like, you doubly sure are not going to be swinging that at me.
God, yeah, and it's also like really hard to get rid of once you're in
Mhm.
those grind games because once it dies, you just can get it back into your hand, which is stupid.
Whoop, right back.
God. But yeah,
Well.
yeah, like I said, this is definitely a list that I was thinking of, and you did it wonders. So yeah, I love it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna echo TK here. It is. I think it is a mid-range Dimir list stream. I love the inclusion of clones. I will always love clones. And I mean, I think that my favorite part about this list is that because it is that mid range, like very kind of versatile. Like you do have your game plans set in motion. You know what you're trying to do, but it is versatile enough, or the list is flexible enough where I mean, you get to play your pet cards, and we don't always get to do that in CDH. And I mean, case in point, we were just talking about Scarab God. I would never have pictured another list playing Scarab God other than probably this one. Um, and similar talking points for just the generic good value engine cards. Um, all your control and card advantage, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm really happy with this list. I'm glad to see that you pulled it together as much as you did.
Thank you.
Yay! Sick. All right, July number 3. Number 3.
TK, you and I were on the same page about this list. I also built a polymorph list, but I just kind of looking at the way that our lists differ in terms of what I saw just a moment ago from yours. Mine, I think, is a bit more is trying to be faster, but also is probably a bit more reckless. Because my game plan is to put Hullbreaker Horror and Tidal Tyrants into play as fast as possible, no questions asked. So we're playing Polymorph, we're playing Proteus Staff, we are playing all the tutors to get those cards. Some interesting inclusions for that is Tezzeret the Seeker can go get us Proteus Staff for his -X ability, X equaling 3 in this case. We are playing Transmute Artifact. We are playing Whir of Invention. So these, more specifically, artifact tutors to get the Proteus Staff in play. Just because I think that's probably a little bit of a easier way to do the polymorph than actual polymorph itself. It's a lot harder to counter the activated ability of the Proteus Staff than it is to counter the spell of polymorph. We are also doing. I am somewhat on a reanimation package myself, just to make sure that if, as mentioned before, maybe those creatures get milled over, or for whatever reason I decide that I'm going to actually just pitch those cards. I think if for some reason it's easier to just put them in the yard, or whatever the case may be. So we are on Animate Dead, we're on Dance of the Dead, we're on all those all kinds of good stuff there. And like I said, my plan here was to just do the polymorph infinite mana outlet as quickly as possible. Similar to TK, I'm on Jace as our outlet. Um, I'm also, for a couple unique cards, I'm on let's see here, Mystic Sanctuary. We are on enough islands to make it work, so as to keep like polymorph online, in terms of like we mill over polymorph or really any of our instants or sorceries, we can just get that back with the Mystic Sanctuary. Same thing for Proteus Staff and other important artifacts. We're on Academy Runes. Again, just kind of, I am under the assumption that more times than not, we might just mill over what we don't want to be milled over. So having that built-in redundancy to get those cards back, I very much like to have security in my lines. Coming from a controlled player who doesn't trust anyone to stop, doesn't trust anyone to let me do my thing until I'm secure. I like to have a lot of ways to either get the win cons back or put them back into play. Beyond that, the secondary line is mainly I'm going to pronounce this wrong because I do it every time. Mnemonic Betrayal, because heck, if we're going to be milling people and for some reason we don't want to mill ourselves, let's just mill everyone else. They're already doing it anyways. They're playing Breach. It's a great time. We are just kind of doing those two game plans. Like I said, it's a lot of pretty much that simplicity of like, I have one game plan. I'm going to do that game plan very straightforward. If it fails, uh-oh. The one card that I am always going to question, and I know everyone else is going to question, is this little card up here called Ad Nauseam.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Thank
I'm
God.
so glad.
Yeah, genuinely. You are one of the most ballsiest individuals I have ever seen to run an Ad Nauseam with a Hullbreaker Horror, a Tidespout Tyrant, Tezzeret the Seeker, Besiege Dimir.
Look, I only need Ad Naus to work once.
It will only once, maybe only one flip. You do not.
Flip that tap card. Ow!
Hit the second one. Oh, that's 14, 15
well, yeah,
damage.
I guess I'm halfway down my life total. But no, I mean, like my thought process is, again, it is definitely the card that I think if I were to edit this list, it would be one of the first things I cut. But I kind of took the Dimir and I was like, I don't want to do mid range. I don't want to do control. I do want to do like a turbo Dimir. How can I do this? How risky is it going to be on Ad Naus? How important, or how many cards deep do I need to get to get where I needed to go? Even if I'm not finding the card, like let's say I'm not finding Polymorph, I'm not finding Proteus Staff, chances are I'm finding a card that will set me up to get one of those cards pretty quickly. Because again, this deck is on pretty much every way to find one of the two cards under the sun that I could find. And yeah, I think that's everything I have to say. Oh, one card that I am a little fond of for this deck because of our commander is Dress Down. So obviously it's a control card. A lot of people like to play it to stop combos, especially creature combos. If for whatever reason you find yourself in a situation where you have to play Dress Down on your turn, Ancient One just becomes an 8/8 that doesn't have its Descend clause.
Oh.
That's
God.
crazy.
I didn't even think about that.
So, if you're feeling violent, if you're feeling someone's got to go, maybe just Dress Down your Ancient One. Just for fun.
Fun little Ad Naus there. Got you to 5, huh? Dress down. Bonk.
God,
yeah.
that's hilarious.
But yeah, so that's my list.
That
Nice.
definitely looks interesting.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I know you were saying that yours was reckless, but I actually think yours is cleaner than mine. I'm gonna be completely honest. I think you as someone who loves polymorph, really leaned into that, and I think yours is really good at doing the thing, which is what it's built to do. And so for that standard, I love your list. I think it looks clean. I can see the lines. It's all there. Tezzeret is one card that after I saw your list, I'm like, duh, why didn't I put that in there? Especially if I'm playing, Proteus staff. It's like, okay, cool. I really needed that to be there. Yeah, I like your list a lot. I think it does the thing. It does it very well. It doesn't have the added like Kozilek thing, which is like we were talking about it, and it's like, oh, that's fun, but at the same time, why do you need it when you can just get into the whole breaker horror and the tide spout and just guaranteed and do the thing?
Mm-hmm.
I will say, I had the same exact thought of why am I not playing this card when I saw Kozilek for your list, and I was like, well, I guess we might just deck ourselves. I was also thinking another alternative card for that would be Nexus of Fate. If you don't want to polymorph into Kozilek, you just do Nexus of Fate instead.
Right. And I know we talked briefly about that before. And once you said it, I was like, duh, that's even better than having this random 10 cost card just sitting around here that might hit the board sometimes. And I'm like, oops. All right.
I think we've established the precedent at this point after I pointed out my little dress down shenanigans that we are prone to violence if need be.
It's Annihilator 4 sounds nice. You know what I mean? It sounds good. Yeah, I love it though. I think it's amazing list, July.
Thank you.
I agree. I think one of the interesting ones that I saw there is the counterbalance. That's something. Yeah. That's a little interesting. I don't think I saw top in there currently, but if we were to revise that, kind of put top in there, top adds a whole other variance of it because you do get to draw the card before you discard it with the Ancient One's ability. So like my thought in the future is like we put top in there and are able to sculpt the top, grab our big drop, immediately discard it. That sounds it's very interesting.
Yeah, and that was kind of the thought process with counterbalance too. Was because we have a commander that at any time we can just decide I'm going to put this card in my hand. That counterbalance, having that information is like, okay, at least then like I know what I'm drawing, and more importantly, like sure my opponents might know what I'm drawing, but at the same time, like that card, even if it's not useful at the moment, is putting in work because it is a counterbalance. I was going back and forth on top, and my decision making on that was that aside from counterbalance, it's not doing a terrible lot, but it's definitely a card that I would probably put right back in if given the chance. Maybe I just got ad nauseum put since I stopped.
Put top,
yes,
or
a land.
But then my CMC goes down, I can put ad nauseum right back in.
Nope. I love that.
But
okay,
yeah.
Cool. So that's 3 separate takes. Yeah, while we do like the polymorph idea and we think it's very fun, just in terms of kind of what is current and what the kids say is hip these days. Yeah, mid-range is kind of definitely the way to go. So we've got a couple cuts here. We've got 93 cards. So we're definitely going to be looking for about 7 new cards to add to this list. Yeah, what are you guys thinking?
One thing I was thinking of, and I don't know why I didn't add it earlier, it was Stitch Together. Just throwing in another reanimation spell. I think we might have glossed over it a little bit, but Stitch Together works very well for this list. Mostly because, right? Yeah, it's that threshold. We're going to be hitting threshold so easily. So this is just another 2-mana reanimation. It's on the field. Let's go. It's sorcery speed, which is not the best, but it's something that we can play in this list specifically. Definitely something I think should be added to it personally.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. A card I wanted to suggest, this one's a little bit back and forth because of its cost, but I think what it's adding to the deck is really powerful, which is Final Parting. It is the 3 colorless, 2 black, so it's 5 mana sorcery. You search for 2 cards. You put one of them in your hand and one of them in your graveyard. So obviously we're looking at this. There's a lot of reanimation going on here. And Final Parting is a really solid card to just put the A plus B. Here's the Reanimate in my hand. Here's the Tide Spout in the yard, or here's the Thassa's Oracle in the yard. Here's my 2 cards.
That's very interesting. And the 5-drop usually would take people off of it, but the fact that our commander likes having those high CMCs, I think genuinely, I do think this would be a nice include because it'll always be live.
Yeah.
For sure. If we don't want to cast it, it's just like, okay, cool, we'll just dump 5 cards into our graveyard. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
100%. While we're looking at high CMC cards, I know one card that I had in mind, and when it came to the mid-range version of the list, and you can also do its cousin, Big Fish. I'm thinking of Consecrated Sphinx or Nezal. We are in a big mid-range meta, of course, and being able to just turn everybody else's Ristic Studies and Mystic Remorse into our Ristic Studies and Mystic Remorse is pretty great. Especially you being a renowned Kinnan player at this point, you know how dangerous that can be. And it has a lot of synergy just being a high CMC card that you could toss away and reanimate later, or even better with Scarab God, you can get a 4/4 version of it later on.
Okay, yeah,
that's
you sold me
good.
on that. You sold me on that.
Yep,
that's nice.
Look, I'm always high on Consecrated Sphinx. I didn't think I could get higher.
Yeah, it was immediate thought that I had when we were talking about your list. I was like, I'm surprised it's not here. I think it should be here. I think it's really good.
Yeah, that's really good.
Never bad to have more draw engines for sure. It being a 4/4, having a 4-drop version of it sounds wonderful. If you let a Con Sphinx hit the field for any meaningful amount of time, it's taking over games. So I like that. I did cut a couple lands. I think it was Forbidden Orchard and Spire of Industry. So I was thinking, because we are a little high in the blue compared to black, a snow-covered island. That way, 1, our Tainted Pack's still live, and 2, we have another blue source to fetch is always going to be wanted. So I think a snow-covered island could definitely slot in real easily over one of those. They are producing one of either color, but the downsides are a little high. I don't know if I'm running enough artifacts to make Spire of Industry work for one. That's a real serious consideration I was thinking about. Forbidden Orchard, there's a lot of Gaia's Cradle decks. Maybe it's only in our meta, but I feel like I don't want to give people 1/1s personally. So
yeah,
that's why I wanted to go ahead and get that cut.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. Not even just Gaia's Cradle, but I know there's a lot of food chain lists too, and you do not have to have a cost on the card for it to start the food chain. So I would agree with that.
Yeah, as a Rockside player with a Phyrexian Tower on the board most of the time, I love when people play Fortune. Thank you. Give me that 1/1. Dude, you just gave me 2 black mana. Awesome.
Oh, yeah. And another card I just thought about that. Yeah, we do not want to be giving people tokens. Beseech Dimir. You do not want to be giving someone fuel to be bargaining with Beseech Dimir.
That is very true.
Yeah, there's so many cards that work with the body, literally Diabolic Intent. There's so many things that really could mess it up. So I agree with you on Fortune not being there. Are you on a Surveil land by chance?
I think I saw it.
Yes. Yeah, Undercity Sewers is for sure in here. Surveil lands are that new hotness that's kind of hitting around. Fetchable on somebody's end step. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna take a look. Do I like it?
Yeah.
Throw that in the trash. Here's Reanimate. Oops. Oops. It's on the. Was that a hull breaker? Yes, it was. Here it is. It's on the field now. Being in reanimation, I think it's like the legacy Dimir reanimation. They're running like 2 to 3 of these for that exact reason. So, it was one of the auto includes when it came to lands for me for sure.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. On the topic of lands, one card that I think often goes unappreciated. I see a lot of people using it just to make sure they're on Tainted Pack still. But in this deck, I think it's going to put in a lot of work, is Takenuma. because it mills. So we're already on that mill strategy. We're already kind of doing that thing. Plus, if we want one of our creatures that like we're not planning to reanimate, let's say you bin a like a ledger shredder or whatever, put it right back in your hand with Takenuma.
I think that's a pretty good idea. I agree. It's kind of been underrated. The channel effect is a little expensive. It is 4, which is not the better of like when you get a Basehu and it's just 1 mana. That's very nice. I was playing our buddy's Obnixilis deck a couple times, and I remember there was this time where I had Takenuma in my hand and a Bowmaster's in my graveyard, and I was like, nice. Heck yeah. So somebody, I think, cast a Windfall, and I was literally like, okay, channel Takenuma, get back my Bowmaster, cast Bowmaster, let Windfall resolve. Felt really good. Channel abilities are overpowered. So I like that a lot. And it brings us back up to 27, which is nice.
Nice. One card I immediately thought as well about this list is because we're running a big dumb A8 that can go out really early. Is Stubborn Denial. If you want a really good counter spell.
I have not thought about Stubborn Denial in a minute.
Yo,
Yep.
Stub. Okay, all right.
Yep.
This was running modern for a little bit. I think like in the Grixis Death Shadow days, Stubborn Denial was busted.
Yeah, that's
absolutely busted.
Yeah. If you guys don't know at home and people listening, if you guys do not know what Stubborn Denial does, it is a 1-drop instant for blue that says counter target non-creature spell unless the controller pays 1. So essentially a daze, but it has Ferocious, which means it gets a different effect when you have a creature that is power 4 or greater, which our commander is a power 8. Doesn't matter if it swings or attacks or not. It's power 8, and it pretty much just says counter that spell instead. So it loses the whole clause of the opponent needing to pay 1. It just straight up counter spell for 1. So nice synergy there with the ancient one.
Heck yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's really good. All right, we got what?
One
more slot left?
Yeah, we've got one more slot. There's one thing I was thinking of. Playing Kinnan, having a 2 mana commander, and just to kind of like up our mana, it was gonna be Springleaf Drum.
Yep.
Yeah.
Springleaf Drum is a very nice consistent of both of our manas, and turn 1 Springleaf Drum into turn 2 Ancient one, hold up 1 mana now for a Stubborn Denial, which is absolutely crazy. A Spell Snare, which I think should see more play personally. That's just me. I think that's a very nice play pattern. It's something I would like to play personally.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Look, I might want him to swing, but he might not be swinging for a minute. You got to be putting in some work.
Yep, putting in some side effect besides that 4 mana ability.
Yep.
I think it looks good.
So that's a really good lead in to the rest of this sort of channel's Ivy, is that we are going to print out this list for next week's episode, and instead of a straight up podcast, what we're going to do is we're going to take it to what I have dubbed the idiot gulag. We are going to put it against 3 other tested and improved decks that we're all going to pilot. And I assume, Chris, because this is based off of your list, you will helm this list and see if you can get a win or 2 off of this list on some tried and true tested decks. And we're going to do our best to see if this baby bird can fly or if it's going to fall on its face.
Oh, no.
It doesn't have flying, so it might have a little bit of struggle.
What is
Ooh, yeah. We didn't even know if it got legs yet or not, so it's kind of rough.
His worshippers got legs, they're little baby legs, but he got legs right there. He's cheering them on. That's gonna be me. I'm gonna be in the gulag fighting for my life.
Descend is a downward trend.
Oh no!
Yeah, that sucks. But that's for next week's episode, and I think that's all for this week's episode. So, yeah, and you can follow all of us on Twitter at idiotmtg. Don't think I have to spell that one out. If we do, welcome to the idiots.
Yeah. Welcome
Um,
aboard.
Yeah, come on in. Thank you so much for being here for our first episode. Hope you enjoy. Please press that subscribe button if you are listening in on YouTube, and if you're on Spotify and or Apple Music and wherever you get your aggregated podcast from, definitely check out for the next episode. Thank you guys so much, and hope you have an amazing, wonderful day. Say bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye,